The case we're covering today honestly shook me. And I'm not exaggerating when I say, by the end of this video, you'll be speechless. This isn't just another cheating story. This is betrayal on a whole new level. A married woman spiraling into late-onset teenage rebellion, throwing away everything for a thrill, dragging her husband down with her. What started off as boredom turned into a twisted affair, and eventually, a deadly trap. Hey everyone, welcome back to Real Crime Files. If you're into true, raw stories straight from real life, you're in the right place. Go ahead and subscribe if you haven't already. Hit the bell icon so you don't miss any of these wild stories. Now, let's get into it. Our story begins in a quiet neighborhood in Springfield, Ohio. A 41-year-old woman named Karen Douglas lives in a modest rented home with her husband Mike, and their 3 kids, their oldest son Tyler, 21, and 2 younger boys, ages 10 and 6. Mike works long hours. He's out by 6 a.m. and doesn't get back till late in the evening. He's doing everything he can to provide for the family. All he wants is to see his wife happy, to make sure the kids have what they need. But for Karen, that wasn't enough. She felt trapped, bored, disappointed. In her mind, she deserved better. Instead of asking for a divorce like any rational adult, Karen chose a darker path. While Mike and Tyler were gone all day working at Mike's auto repair shop, Karen stayed home. The younger kids were in school, and that left her alone. And that's when things started to spiral. Karen would leave the house during the day, roaming the local markets, gossiping with women at the salon, or just walking around town. She was getting attention from men. And she liked it. She began flirting, testing limits. Then, one day, while shopping at the farmer's market, she locked eyes with a man named Luis Ramos, 34 years old. Tall, confident, and younger than her husband. He winked at her, and Karen didn't look away. Luis followed her discreetly through the market, eventually cornering her near a quieter alley by the back produce stands. With a coy smile, Karen scribbled her number on a piece of receipt paper and handed it to him like it was nothing. And just like that, it began. Later that day, Karen returned home with more excitement than she'd felt in years. Luis was younger, fitter, and gave her the attention she craved. He texted her every day. She visited him frequently, at first under the guise of grocery shopping or meeting a friend. Luis, who ran a stall at the market, started giving her baskets of vegetables for free. He welcomed her into his small storage space behind his stand, where they'd sit, talk, and get closer. It didn't take long before those visits turned into full-on secret affairs. Karen told him everything. That she was married. That her husband was never home. That she wasn't happy. She said she wanted out, but never took action. The affair dragged on for months, becoming more intense and reckless. Until one day, it crossed a line neither of them could take back. So now things are getting reckless. Luis started coming over whenever the house was empty. Karen would text him, "It's clear," and within minutes, he'd show up. They'd sneak in an hour or so together, do what they came to do, and he'd be out before anyone noticed. This went on for months, almost every other day. The routine became disturbingly normal. But one day, that routine nearly blew up in their faces. That afternoon, Karen had just let Luis in. They were lying in bed together when, suddenly, a knock came at the door. Both froze. Panic hit. Karen's heart dropped. "Oh God, what if it's Mike?" she whispered. Luis jumped out of bed, looked around and said, "I'll hide in the closet." Karen flung open the closet doors, Luis jumped inside, and she shut it tight. Whoever was knocking wasn't leaving, it had already been 5 minutes. Karen was shaking as she opened the front door. But it wasn't Mike, it was her two youngest sons. Their elementary school had let out early because of a teacher strike. The 6-year-old didn't suspect a thing. But the 10-year-old? He knew something was off. He stared at his mom and asked, "Are you okay, Mom? You look weird." Karen laughed nervously and tried to play it off. "Oh, sweetie, I'm fine. I was just taking a nap." She let the boys into the living room, then snuck back and signaled Luis to quietly leave. But the 10-year-old noticed something, someone slipping out the back door. He ran to the kitchen window and saw a man walking away. Later, he asked, "Mom, who was that guy who just left our house?" Karen's eyes went cold. "That was just the vegetable guy. He dropped off a heavy crate of produce for me. You didn't see anything, understand?" Then she got real close to him and said, "Don't you ever tell your dad. If you say anything, I swear I'll make you regret it." The kid, frightened and confused, kept quiet. But deep down, he knew something was wrong. He wasn't a little boy anymore, he could put things together. And from that day on, the cracks in Karen's little double life started to spread. Karen began feeling paranoid. Every creak in the house sounded like footsteps. Every glance from her son felt like a silent accusation. She stopped going to Luis's market entirely. But Luis wasn't ready to let go. He'd follow her, wait outside stores, text her from random numbers. He begged her, "Come back to me. I love you. I need you." He started making threats too, saying he'd show up at her house, or tell her husband everything if she didn't answer his calls. That was the final straw. Karen changed her phone number and begged Mike to move to a different part of town. She said she needed a fresh start, told him the neighborhood was stressing her out. Mike, ever the good husband, agreed. He started looking for a place closer to work. After a few months, they found a small rental on the other side of town. Packed up the kids, moved during the summer. New home. New neighborhood. New life, right? Wrong. Luis was obsessed. And even though Karen had moved, changed her number, and cut him off, he found her. He somehow figured out where she lived. He'd show up nearby. Watch the house. Wait. And he wasn't done with her, not by a long shot. Because Karen's spiral was far from over. So the family had moved to a new place. Fresh start, right? Karen thought she'd left all the chaos behind. But trouble has a way of finding you, especially when you don't stop inviting it in. Every morning around 10:30 or 11, Karen would head to the local market. There, she met a man named Samir. He was 55, ran a kitchenware stall, pots, cups, plates, anything you'd need for a kitchen. Samir noticed Karen immediately. She didn't look her age, mid-40s, but clearly took care of herself. Dressed well. Spoke soft. Samir was hooked. Soon enough, numbers were exchanged. Calls were made. Karen would call him under the pretense of asking about kitchen items. Her husband? Completely unaware. He trusted her, 20 years of marriage will do that to a man. Things with Samir heated up quickly. He started gifting her things, glassware, utensils, fancy mugs. Then came the real gift, attention. Karen felt seen. Desired. And that's all it took. She invited him to her house. From that point on, it became routine. Samir would stop by when the coast was clear, spend an hour, then leave. Just like Luis before him. One came, then the other. Karen was juggling two lovers like it was nothing. Until Luis, the first man, caught wind that something had changed. One day, Luis waited outside her new place. He'd followed her to the market and back. When she passed the quiet block, he stopped her. "Karen. I miss you. I can't forget you. Please, give me your number." Karen tried to brush him off. "Leave me alone." But Luis wouldn't back down. "Just, give me your number. I need to talk to you. It's important." She gave in. She was terrified he'd make a scene. Now things were spiraling again. Karen was back to square one, 2 men, 1 house, rotating visits. First Luis. Then Samir. Week after week, she played host to both, pretending like it was normal. But Karen was tired. And she liked Samir more. One day at the market, she pulled him aside. "I need your help. There's this guy, Luis. He's 34, obsessed with me. He won't leave me alone. I didn't tell him he comes over, but he's always around." Samir listened carefully. He wasn't just going to let another guy linger around his woman. He said, "I'll think of a plan. We'll get rid of him, for good." And Samir's plan? Well, it was bold. He said, "We can't talk to him on the street. It has to happen inside your house. That way he knows, this is serious." Karen agreed. "Okay. I'll get him over. You show up while he's there, act like you live here, and throw him out." Yes, that's how far gone Karen was. She gave Samir pictures of the house so he'd know exactly how to walk in. The plan was to lure Luis inside, and ambush him. The next morning, Luis showed up, just like she told him to. She let him in. They talked. Then, Karen dropped the bomb. "Luis, it's over. I'm done. I've moved on. I'm seeing someone else. Someone I actually love." Luis froze. "What? You're serious?" Karen didn't flinch. "Yes. I love him. And he loves me back. This, you and me? It's finished." That's when Samir burst in. Luis turned, stunned. "Who the hell is this?" Samir looked him in the eye. "I'm the man she's talking about. And you need to get out." What started as a secret fling was about to explode into something no one saw coming. Luis didn't love Karen. That was never the deal. He was only ever in it for one thing, and when she tried to cut him off, he snapped. Inside the house, Luis lashed out. He grabbed Karen. Pushed her. And then, he forced himself on her. At that exact moment, Samir walked in. He froze at the door. Karen was screaming. Luis had her pinned. In a flash, Samir rushed in, grabbed Luis, and the 2 men began to fight. Fists. Screaming. Chaos. But Luis was ready for this. Like many produce sellers at the market, he carried a knife. Always. Just in case. He pulled it from his pocket and began swinging. "Get away from me," he shouted. Samir panicked. He backed off, ran to the kitchen, and returned with a heavy metal ladle. It was no longer a fight. It was survival. Samir struck first. Then again. Then again. Until Luis stopped moving. He was gone. Dead. Right there, on the living room floor. It was noon. Karen's 2 sons had just returned home. One was 10. The other only 6. They rang the bell. She opened the door, trembling. They walked in to find their mother sobbing on the floor, a dead man lying beside her. 2 strange men had been in the house. One now lay lifeless. Karen rushed the kids into a back room and locked the door. She and Samir had to think fast. They had a body, blood, witnesses, and no plan. For 15 minutes, they just sat there, silent, panicking. Then Samir made his move. "I'm leaving. I was never here. You tell your husband it was self-defense. Say some guy broke in and tried to rape you. Protect your honor." And just like that, Samir vanished. Karen cleaned herself up, composed her tears, then called her husband and her oldest son. Her husband was nearby, working in the garage. Her son, out running errands. She waited for him to return, then they both raced home. What they found would scar them for life. Karen lay on the floor, head in her hands, crying uncontrollably. A man's body lay feet away. Her husband screamed, "What the hell happened here? Who is this?" Karen launched into the story. "I was coming home from the market. This man had been following me. He forced his way inside, tried to rape me. I panicked. I fought back. I stabbed him. I had to protect myself." Her youngest son stood silently. But the older one, he believed her. "Mom, we have to go to the police. You did nothing wrong. You were protecting yourself." But her husband wasn't convinced. He looked at her face, no bruises. No signs of struggle. Not a scratch. "You're telling me this man attacked you, and didn't touch you once? No marks? Nothing?" He grabbed her hand. Looked into her eyes. "Tell me the truth. All of it. Right now. Or I'm calling the police myself, and I'll tell them everything doesn't add up." Karen broke. Tears fell. Her voice cracked. Okay. I'll tell you the truth." She confessed. "He used to follow me. From the market. He wanted a relationship. I never wanted him. I swear. I didn't love him. I never wanted to cheat on you." Karen kept insisting, "He was always following me. Always waiting for me. Always asking to be with me." She told her husband, he'd wait outside. "Every time I said no, he came back. Until today, when he forced his way into our home. I had no choice," she said. "I grabbed the knife, and I killed him." Her husband finally believed her. But what happened next was anything but legal. Karen didn't want to call the police. She begged them instead. "Please, help me hide the body. I'll go to prison. 20 years, minimum. They'll never believe me." Her son. Her husband. Torn. But in the end, they agreed. The plan? Hide the body inside an old broken freezer they had stored in the house. One that looked good on the outside, but hadn't worked in years. They cleaned it. Packed the body in. Locked it shut. At exactly 12:30 a.m., under cover of darkness, they dragged the freezer into the forest. A remote dumping site outside the city. And just like that, they were back home. Everything wiped clean. House disinfected. As if nothing ever happened. But the next morning, fate had other plans. Around 10 a.m., a local junk collector was making his daily rounds with his donkey cart, looking for scrap metal, broken electronics, anything he could resell. He spotted the freezer. It looked perfect. Big. Undamaged. He approached it, and opened the lid. What he found inside made his blood freeze. He screamed, loud enough to wake the whole countryside. Neighbors came running. They saw the body. Police were called. Forensics units arrived. The investigation was now officially on. Meanwhile, Samir had disappeared. He had closed his market stall the night before and fled. He knew what he'd done. And he knew the police wouldn't buy the self-defense story. Karen, in a panic, went to find him at the market at 11:30 a.m. But he was gone. His shop was locked. Workers said he hadn't been seen since the day before. Back at the dump site, the police quickly identified the body. It was Luis. His ID card was still in his pants pocket. Investigators began canvassing the area. And that's when they found the first major break in the case. The road into the forest passed by a single villa. A villa with security cameras. They knocked on the door. The owner agreed to show them the footage. At around 12:30 a.m., the cameras caught exactly what the police needed. Two men and a woman, struggling to drag a heavy freezer across the path. The freezer was mounted on a small butane gas cart. Clear faces. Clear angles. It didn't take long for police to extract stills of all three faces. Karen. Her husband. Her son. Now it wasn't just a possible murder, it was a full-scale cover-up. The moment the police obtained the surveillance footage from the house overlooking the dump site, everything began to move fast. Within 48 hours, detectives were able to identify the three individuals caught on camera dragging a suspicious-looking freezer into the woods: a woman in her late 40s, her middle-aged husband, and a young man, later confirmed to be their son. Through DMV records and local databases, the team quickly located their home. The first to be arrested was Karen, the woman in the footage. She was alone when the officers arrived. Calm but visibly anxious, she didn't resist. She was handcuffed and taken in. Soon after, authorities raided a local auto repair shop where her husband and son worked. Both were taken into custody without incident. The interrogations. At first, both the husband and the son stuck to their story. "We were just moving an old broken freezer. That's all." But the pressure was mounting, and Karen cracked first. Sitting across from a seasoned detective, she unfolded everything. The affair. The threats. The day it all spiraled out of control. "He came to the house, again. I told him to stay away. But he forced his way in. Said if I didn't give him what he wanted, he'd tell my husband. I panicked. I had no choice. I grabbed the knife, and I stabbed him. More than once." Her voice broke as she recounted how she stood over the bleeding man, how she screamed for help, not from the police, but from her family. Her husband. Her son. The very people she had betrayed. They didn't know the full story. Just that I was in danger. I begged them to help me hide the body. I told them if the cops found out, I'd spend the rest of my life in prison, and they helped me. Out of love. Karen's confession rocked the detectives. The story was messier than they imagined, a tangled web of betrayal, fear, and desperation. The search for Samir. But one key piece was still missing: Samir, the man who had actually delivered the final blow and helped with the body. Police traced him to a stall in a local flea market. It had been shut for 5 days. His home was empty. It took nearly 2 months before they found him, hiding under a fake name in a small industrial town several hours away. Once in custody, Samir folded quickly. His version matched Karen in every detail. He admitted to stabbing the victim when Karen screamed. Claimed it was to protect her. But the law didn't see it that way. Her husband and son also eventually confessed to helping transport and dispose of the body, though they insisted they thought the man had simply collapsed during a fight. The verdicts. The court didn't buy it. Samir was convicted of first-degree murder. He received life in prison without parole. Karen was found guilty of second-degree murder and obstruction of justice. She was sentenced to 25 years. Her husband and son were both charged with accessory after the fact to murder and evidence tampering. And the verdict for them? Let's just say, it wasn't lenient. The sentence for her husband and son is 10 years.